Obama and his CIA ordered other spies to spy on Trump, or orchestrated it at the very least. They did it. Other countries from the Five Eye countries went after the Trump campaign because this guy, John Brennan, didn't like Trump and wanted him to lose. And Trump knew all this. He talked about this when he was having this conversation with Maria Bartiromo. Remember, he says, I've got the documents. We all know this happened. Obama knew it happened. They were all spying on me. It was so that when he won and he came in, they would have something to launch into him about. In this case, of course, it was Russian collusion. Trump knew all this was going on a long time ago.
Brennan bad, they're all bad. Everyone. Clapper is, not smart guy in charge of intelligence. But here's the thing. It was impossible for it to happen without the man that sits right in that chair in the Oval Office. He knew everything.
Do you believe President Obama directed the U.S. intelligence agencies to spy on you?
Yes, he probably directed them, but if he didn't direct them, he knew everything.
Once they
and you'll
couldn't
see
find
that. By the way,
collusion
excuse
evidence.
me, you're going to see that when the papers come in.
Okay, so put a pin in that because this article that we're about to read from Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, they reference those documents.
Remember the Lisa Page text to her lover saying POTUS wants to see everything? POTUS. They're not talking about me. I wasn't president. They're talking about POTUS
Well,
wants
there was
to see
a meeting
everything.
on January 5th in the Oval Office. President Obama was there, Vice President Biden was there, Clapper, Brennan, and that's when the Logan Act came up. So should we believe that they were looking for collusion evidence? They couldn't find the collusion evidence. There was none. So they said, let's just use the Logan Act to take
First
it
of
down.
all, they snuck around White House counsel. They went to see a very unsuspecting General Flynn. He's a general. He's not a lawyer. They said you don't need a lawyer. And they started asking him questions. And they probably brought up the Logan Act. And they probably scared the hell out of him. But let me tell you a little secret. They go knock, knock, and ask K.T. McFarland the way they knocked on the door and many other people. With Mueller, that whole thing turned out to be a total fraud. The whole Mueller investigation's a fraud. It was all part of the same deal. What they did to General Flynn and others, we know about General Flynn. You'll find out about others, too. What they did to these people is a international disgrace. And all over the world they talk about it because this is not America. And hopefully the people involved are going to pay a big price because it should never be allowed to happen again.
We'll see if they do. And I think they're freaked out about this because they know if Trump wins this next election, which we hope he does, and we think he will, that he's going to have some serious ramifications coming their way, right? They are not happy about the possibility that he might be able to do something about all of the things they did to him. So they're freaked. And that makes me nervous because they'll do anything to stop him from getting that power again. Now, this story came out from Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, and this is over on his Substack called public.substack.com. This is the background on the story. They say the CIA of America had foreign allies spy on Trump's team. Okay, CIA can't do it themselves. That's domestic. They're not allowed to do that. So why don't they just have other countries do it? Triggering the entire Russia collusion hoax that dogged Trump during his entire first term. Mueller, all of it was garbage, right? All made up by our own CIA. Last year, John Durham, a special prosecutor to the DOJ, we read the Durham report, he concluded that the FBI should never, ever have opened its investigation into Trump about the collusion stuff in July of 2016. Now, multiple credible sources tell Public and Racket that the United States intelligence community illegally, now multiple credible sources tell Public and Racket that the U.S. intelligence community, including the CIA, illegally mobilized foreign intelligence agencies to target Trump advisors long before the summer of 2016. Now, the new information fills many gaps in our understanding of the Russia collusion hoax, and it's supported by testimony already in the public record. Until now, the official story has been that the FBI investigation began after Australian intelligence officials told U.S. officials that a Trump aide had boasted to an Australian diplomat that Russia had damning material about Hillary. So the idea was the Australians got it from some random Trump aide and they reported it that way. But that's not true. In truth, the United States intelligence community, they asked the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance, which is an international spy group, to surveil Trump's associates and to share intelligence that they had acquired with the U.S. agencies. We can't go spy on them. Why don't you do it? Now, this is from sources close to the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. These are U.S. House sources that are digging into this. The Five Eyes nations are the U.S., the U.K., Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. So the U.S. just outsourced it just like they did everything else. Remember, they outsourced the censoring to Facebook and to Twitter and to other agencies. They couldn't do it themselves, but the FBI was saying, please censor this, please censor that. After Public, Michael Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi, they had been told after they'd they'd been told that John Brennan, Obama's CIA director, had identified 26 Trump associates for the Five Eyes to target. A source confirmed that the intelligence community had in fact identified them as people to, quote, bump. Okay, so 26 Trump associates are going to be bumped. What does that mean? It means make contact with or to manipulate. So the CIA is telling other countries, the Five Eyes countries, to bump American citizens on the Trump team, right? Which is like asking foreign agents to come in to your domestic politics. I mean, how insane is that? Our own government wants foreign agents to come in and interfere with our own presidential campaigns. I mean, talk about the election being rigged, okay? This is clearly that. To bump, to make contact, or to manipulate Trump people, they were the targets of our own intelligence community and our own law enforcement. Targets for collection and misinformation. Now, unknown details about the FBI investigation of the Trump campaign and raw intelligence related to this surveillance are in a 10-inch binder that Trump ordered to be declassified at the very end of his term. Sources tell Public and Racket, those papers that Trump talked about. Now, if the top secret documents exist and it proves these charges, they are potentially proof that multiple U.S. intelligence officials broke laws against spying and against election interference. CNN, Politico, The Guardian, and many others reported in 2017 that the British government communications headquarters, called the GCHQ, the equivalent of the National Security Agency, the UK was the principal whistleblower in the investigation into the contact between Trump and Russia. Now, the UK, they first became aware in late 2015 of, quote, suspicious interactions between figures connected to Trump or known or suspected Russian agents. All right. A source close to the UK intelligence team wrote a team of reporters for The Guardian. Now, the intelligence sharing was supposedly just the result of what they call incidental collection. The Guardian reported, they said, it's understood that the UK was at no point carrying out a targeted operation against Trump or his team or proactively seeking information. It was just incidental. The alleged conversations were picked up by chance, I'm sure, as part of routine surveillance of Russian assets. But now that's not true. Sources say the UK, their version of their events is false. The UK government lied to us too. Instead, that's not what happened. It wasn't incidental at all. The US intelligence community asked its foreign allies to target 26 people on Trump's team, all to justify the FBI's investigation. They were making contacts. They were bumping Trump people going back to March 2016 before the election. A source close to the investigation said they were sending people around the UK, to Australia, to Italy. They went to the Mossad in Italy. The MI6 was working at an intelligence school that they had set up. The source said that the intelligence community considered the 26 Trump campaign people that they identified to bump or to, quote, reverse target or to manipulate through CHSs to be easy marks because of their relative inexperience. Obviously, these are American civilians who are just running a political campaign. They're not assets of foreign governments. So the CIA and these intelligence expert spies, right, they just decide, let's go infiltrate all of Trump. 26 people. Now, doing so was illegal. Why? Both because the U.S. law prohibits the intelligence gathering unless it's authorized by a FISA warrant, which they're probably going to cram through again tonight. And because the weaponization of the intelligence community for political purposes is literally election interference. Literally. So Brennan, former President Barack Obama, under whom he served, and the CIA did not respond to our requests, obviously. The Justice Department also declined to comment. But the FBI and England, they did respond. England said the allegations that the GCHQ was asked to conduct wiretapping against the then president-elect are nonsense. They are utterly ridiculous and should be ignored. But it was more than just wiretapping, right? It's like bumps and all those other things. What about the bumps? What about the surveillance? Now, however, in our email presenting the claims to England, we did not refer to wiretapping, but rather to its spy agency's broader alleged involvement in the scheme. Oh no, we didn't wiretap anybody. Okay, well, we didn't ask about that. We asked if you did all of the other things. No, of course not. Obviously, we didn't wiretap him. Okay, that's not what we're asking for. It's like not even a good line from the spies. It's like, hello, come on, guys, give us more than that. Said the FBI, they said the conduct in 2016 and 2017 that John Durham examined was the reason that the FBI leadership already implemented dozens of corrective actions. The FBI said, oh, we made some mistakes back then, but we fixed those, which have now been in place for some time. FBI said, we fixed all those problems. The missteps that were identified in the report could have been prevented and we made changes, so it's not going to happen again. But the new information provided by our sources should significantly alter the public's understanding of how the U.S. intelligence community, how they began their illegal investigation into Trump and created this whole fake narrative about collusion. Now, a little more. Previously released evidence supports the the claim that the intelligence community began investigating Trump before the FBI even began Crossfire Hurricane. FBI's already admitted it should not have sought FISA warrants to wiretap Carter Page, a Trump advisor. The FBI had included in its FISA warrant, in its application for Page, non-credible intelligence from a CHS called Christopher Steele, the British spy. A source told Public and Racket that IC officials had targeted Page because they viewed him as inexperienced. You look at some of the people who were there in the list. They weren't sophisticated or experienced at disinformation or at dealing with the IC people, planting ideas or befriending you. Sick, man. Who else are they doing this to? In 2018, HPSCI released a 243-page report clearing Trump of allegations that he and his team colluded with Russia. Obviously never happened. House Republicans made a deal with the CIA to place their documents inside a safe within the CIA's vault. HPSCI, okay, so that's the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. They released a 243-page report clearing Trump, but they made a deal. They put it in the CIA's vault? We can't read that? Sources close to the investigation say that from 2019 to 2020, the House Select Intelligence Committee, they continued working out of a small room in Langley, and they now had access to raw logs and communications from agencies like the CIA and the National Security Council, right? They can see like the emails, like the logs. This user sent this on this date and time. The first of the IC surveillance targets appeared to be former Defense Intelligence Agency head and would-be Trump advisor Michael Flynn. Academic Stephen Halper, one of the few outed CHSs from Crossfire Hurricane, he approached Flynn back in March. The Stephen Halper story is ridiculous, said the source. He was the consultant to write papers that weren't really papers, and he was paid inflated sums like 400 grand. He was conducting bumps and intel contacts. Halper approached at least 4 other Trump targets in total. He was paid $411,000 by the U.S. government in 2016, and this is via the Office of Net Assessment. This is a Pentagon office that exists to pay off spies, as one of the sources put it. So this dude, Halper, got paid almost $500,000 to write fake papers. We already know they wrote fake papers because of Christopher Steele dossier. When asked by Public if he thought the IC surveillance started with him, Flynn said it actually did. The crazy thing is I had just gone through a full security clearance and an update investigation, which had just closed about 6 months prior. I took a polygraph. They knew there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing at all. But other people continued to bump other Trumpers. Trump aide George Papadopoulos also got bumped by a Maltese professor named Joseph Misfit. Like they've got professors who are on the payroll. Bumping has all kinds of techniques, says Michael Flynn. The purpose is to get compromising material on them or to then do something with them and then use them in some capacity. House Democrats on the Intelligence Committee called Mifsud Kremlin-linked and a Russian cutout. But no, a source told Public that Mifsud was a professor who really worked for the MI6. Okay, it's all Russians. Russia, Russia, Russia. No, it's England. MI6 did not respond to requests for comments. And so the rest of this, I'm going to invite you to go subscribe to the Public Substack because there's even more, as you can see. There's more juiciness, but you're going to need to go subscribe to do that. So go to public.substack.com, become a subscriber just like I am, and support these guys. They're doing excellent work out there. Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and Alex Gutentag are really, getting the scoop on all of this, and it's disgusting what they're doing. But the CIA is involved in all of this, and these people, like Joe, they come out and they say, we have to do this, right? We have to have our government do these things because democracy is on the line. And so they'll break all the rules that they can. This is what Scarborough sounds like when he's screaming about this stuff on his show.
This is a moment in time everybody has to stop and recognize that not only is American democracy on the line, but freedom across the globe on the line.
See, that's why they need all the Five Eyes intelligence. That's why they need the Australians and the English and so on to come in and interfere in our elections.
Donald Trump is siding with Xi. Donald Trump is siding with Putin. Donald Trump is siding with Kim Jong-un. These are the people that he wants to make alliances with, and he wants to turn his back on a free Europe.
Okay, so, obviously what's happening here is we're living in little dictatorship by another name. We sit around and call it like freedom and democracy and all that stuff. But if the CIA is interfering with your election, is that a democracy at all? If Obama's John Brennan is ordering allies of America or orchestrating with allies of America to come spy on American citizens, how is that not treason? Like outright, by bypassing the rules, bypassing FISA so that they don't have to get warrants. Just have the other people do it. Bringing outside agents to interfere with American citizens and their lawful work. I don't know how that is not treason. So it is really a shocking thing, and the CIA is still the CIA. Has there been any reform? Is there going to be any change in direction? Do you think that they woke up after 2016 and thought, gosh, maybe we shouldn't have done that. That was a really bad thing. Let's be better this time. No, of course not. They were still there in 2020 when they wrote their 51 so-called intelligence letter, still lying about the elections. So they were rigging it in 2016. They're rigging it in 2020. We're going to see what they're going to do in 2024, but my guess is they're going to do everything they can to rig it again. And so we're going to be here, my friends, continuing to cover this and more. Thank you for subscribing. Don't forget to subscribe to our friends over on public.substack.com. We've also got some other great stuff that you can check out in our description below as well. We have watcherlodge.com, our newest project. We have a bunch of great events out there now. And so sign up for an event. They're free. Don't have to sign up to become a lodge member unless you want to come to the lodge member events. But we've got Zen Wellness coming up. We've got food sovereignty coming up. And so go to watcherlodge.com to go and sign up for those free events. We'll look forward to seeing you over there and back here on the next one.